We're live, and this is the Riel Community Committee special meeting. First off, I'd like to start with the land and water acknowledgement. I'd like to acknowledge that we're on Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Innu, Cree, and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nations and Treaty 3 territory. Winnipeg est situé sur le territoire visé par le traité numéro 1, le berceau et territoire traditionnel des peuples Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Innu, Cree et Dakota, et sur la terre ancestrale des Métis de la Rivière-Rouge. Notre eau potable provient de la première nation Shoal Lake numéro 40, qui est située sur le territoire visé par le traité numéro 3. I'm joined by my colleague, Councillor Chambers, members of the Public Service, and Madam Clerk, would you guide us through the proceedings?
Happily. Is there a will to grant a leave of absence for Councillor Mays? Oh, bless you.
Would you like to move a leave of absence for Councillor Mays?
Yeah, so moved.
Councillor Chambers moves. All in favor? Aye. Contrary?
Aye.
Carried.
All right. We'll get right into it. A little bit of a different agenda as we have the public hearings prior to the plan approval, as the plan approval is conditioned on a variance. So to start the public hearing, in accordance with the City of Winnipeg Charter and the Development Procedures Bylaw, the process the committee will follow is that the applicant will be heard first, followed by those in support of the application. Next, those registered for information are heard, followed by those registered in opposition are heard, followed by those registered for information. And finally, the applicant may return to speak in rebuttal to comments made, but no new information is permitted at that point. Please note that when your name is called, it is your opportunity to speak. However, you're not obligated to do so. For a more in-depth overview of the public hearing process and other information pertaining to what happens before, during, and after a public hearing, please consult the City Clerk's Department website. And please note that all public hearings are recorded and will be a part of the public record. Should you have any questions after the hearings have concluded, please contact the City Clerk's Department. Item number 1 is a variance on Taché Avenue under file DAV 166053-2026D. Communications were received in support and in opposition for the matter, which have been distributed to all members of the committee. Again, the process the committee will follow is that the applicant will be heard first, followed by those in support, those in opposition, and those registered for information. I don't believe we have anybody joining via Zoom for this hearing, so at this point I would hand it over to the planner for an overview.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Good afternoon, councillors. The subject property is located on the west side of Taché Avenue between the rail line and Rue Hébert in the North St. Boniface neighborhood of the St. Boniface ward. The subject property is located within the Established Neighborhoods Mature Communities Policy Area under Complete Communities Direction Strategy 2.0, and it is also within the North St. Boniface Secondary Plan area. The site was previously rezoned and subdivided for multifamily residential development in 2025, and the applicant now intends to construct a 6-story, 65-unit multifamily building. 30% of the units are reserved as deeply affordable units, and 25% of the overall units will be accessible. The applicant requires 4 variances to establish the use. The variances are related to the setbacks on the north, south, and east sides, as well as a parking reduction for 39 spaces instead of 48 spaces. Regarding the side yard setbacks, the public service is supportive of the north and south side yard setbacks. Given the tight site dimensions the applicant has to work with, as well as the mature communities context, the proposed setbacks are contextually suitable for the area and it is recommended that they be approved. Similarly, given the tight site dimensions and context, the proposed rear yard setback is compatible with the area. It has been reviewed with our parks planner, and it was determined that it would have no negative impact on city-owned trees to the west of the site. For these reasons, it is recommended that this variance also be approved. On parking, the applicant has a parking shortfall of 9 stalls. However, they are providing a car share vehicle, which will offset up to 12 off-street parking stalls. For this reason, the proposed parking variance is supportable. It should also be noted that there is an associated plan approval for the development. We are recommending suspension of the rules, but that's already happened, so we're good. This concludes the overview from the public service. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, Councillor Chambers? No? No questions yet?
Okay, so then we can go right into our representation, starting with our applicant. I have Damien Fenez. Please join us at the podium. Lectern.
Afternoon.
I
do have a USB, if I can use a computer.
to go in the. It's north of the High Line.
Oh, okay.
Great.
Hello?
Good morning.
You have 5 minutes.
Good afternoon, chairpersons, member of the committee, clerks, administration. My name is Damien Finney. I'm a principal at Prairie Architects. I'm acting on behalf of the applicant, Réseau Compassion Network.
You just the mic up a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Is that better?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity today to speak to our proposed development, 65 unit at 825 Taché. Prairie Architects is well experienced in delivering housing projects in Winnipeg's mature neighborhoods, and we're pleased to bring forward what we believe is a high-quality residential project that aligns with the planned vision of the area. Following a community canvassing, the client hosted a public consultation event on September 24th, 2025, where the plans and images were shared. It was a successful event, which saw over 50 guests attend, which helped inform our next steps, which I'll walk through here. So the image on the screen currently is the site as it stands today. So the proposed design will replace an abandoned industrial space on the city's recently subdivided and rezoned lot, as we discussed. The RMFL parcel is about 26,000 square feet, surrounded by green space that will remain intact and used as a parkland along the river to the west. Also, a green corridor will be maintained where Rue Dalvaux currently sits to the south, between the rail lines and the building, where a pathway for residents of the community is envisioned to connect to the parkland and riverbank. The proposed development, as noted, offers 65 units within a 6-story building. It provides housing options that support a broad range of residents, offering 20 deeply affordable, accessible suites, more than what typically is provided in Manitoba housing guidelines, plus another 45 market suites. The proposal supports broader city policy objectives by increasing affordable housing choices in a mature community and supports residents in different stages of life. From a site design perspective, a significant effort has been made to create a pedestrian-oriented and visually attractive development. The site includes extensive landscaping between both the public area and private, with interior building parking to enhance the streetscape and overall pedestrian experience. Street edge, interior landscaping, and foundation planting zoning requirements have all been met. The image you see here is the parking levels. Parking at 825 Taché has been approached carefully and intentionally. We're proposing a total of 39 interior heated parking stalls instead of 48, as previously noted. We are confident that sufficient parking is available to support the building's marketability while the shortfall is offset predominantly by 825 Tashie's development location with access to public transportation, an on-site car share vehicle, and residents' lifestyle patterns that center around active living, giving alternatives to vehicle dependence. The proposed development, 20 deeply affordable suites, are also accessible suites with users that typically rely less on vehicle ownership than standard market suites. In addition to the 18 exterior bicycle parking spaces, the requirement has been exceeded by adding an additional 16 bicycle stalls within the building to further support active living and reduce reliance on car ownership. Also, to help address the shortfall of parking spaces, the on-site guest parking stalls were relocated to on-street in 3 non-dedicated visitor guest stalls in front of the building. I would also like to note that there is additional on-street parking available in the vicinity along Taché with limited time and on the Rue d'Alvaux and Hébert. Image on the left is the main floor. The image on the right is second floor, but also a typical residential floor. So the main floor wraps around the internal parking with building program that offers direct street interaction through large windows which activate the street, showcasing the entrance and lobby, creating a stronger relationship between building and public realm. The building also includes resident amenity spaces, including an NPR, lounge space, bicycle storage, and a large exterior at-grade terrace interconnected with the park and river to the west. A typical floor is comprised of 13 units, where on the second floor, in the image on the right, you can see in a gray area, is a terrace overlooking Taché, further animating the street from the Taché side. So this is a view of the development from the Taché side. So the development has been thoughtfully designed to create an attractive gateway presence as you pass beneath the rail bridge and enter the Pointe-à-Bec community heading north.
Do you need more time?
I need probably about 2 more minutes.
Move extension 2 minutes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Carried.
Go ahead, you got 2 minutes.
Thank you. The glazed southeast corner of Taché activates the corner of the building and street, while above the main floor of the building, the facade has been stepped back to provide a more pedestrian scale experience. Access to the indoor parkade off Taché is shown on the right of that image and set back about 90 feet from Taché. We are proposing a mixed use of light-colored brick, lap siding, and board and batten, primarily neutral tones, with brick on the prominent southeast corner main floor. This is a close-up view of the Taché entrance. We're providing an overhead canopy to shelter the entrance, some bench space for some of the residents, and you can see clearly the rooftop patio overlooking the street from this view. The building's west and south elevations overlook downtown and the river and are treated with the same design intent and quality of materials as seen on the Taché side. Balconies face the west, overlooking the park, the river, and downtown, and access from the patio on the main floor leads to the paths into the city park and bicycle network beyond. So overall, we believe our proposal offers a well-conceived approach that complements the existing community and delivers additional housing choices, including much-needed, deeply affordable options, high-quality architecture, and landscaping. So thank you for your time, and open to any questions.
Mr. Chambers?
What is the total height of the building?
It's 64 feet.
64 feet. And so you've got balconies only on the west side? Is that the west side there?
We do, it is the west side. There are full balconies on the west side, but on the east side, you have Juliet-style balconies. I don't know if you can see there, maybe the close-up. You can see it maybe a little bit more clearly here. So it's still a patio door, but it does not have a full extension balcony.
So there are some that do have on that east side.
Correct.
These ones here.
Correct. Southeast corner, and the second floor also has access to the rooftop patio, but the remaining towards the north of that vertical element are Juliet style.
Great, thank you. And that rooftop patio, is there any, what's underneath there? That's just entranceway?
So that's correct. That would be the entrance lobby, some service space, and then to the left of that would be the common area, so it'd be the lobby, and then extending towards the riverside is a multi-purpose room.
Great, thank you.
And then your presentation has on the site plan that shows the lots. The site with the red square, and then there's park in the back. That's future park, I take it, since,
That's part of the rezoning that took place of the property. That's not related to the 825 Taché. So the lot we're dealing with is noted in red.
and then the part that's noted in green with park on it, that's currently still zoned, is that still zoned industrial, or has that been rezoned to park? I can ask the public service, if you don't have the answer.
My understanding is rezone park.
Okay. Madam Clerk, is it appropriate for the public service to answer this?
Anytime, yep.
To the public service, is the back part of this, has it been rezoned park, or is it only the,
Yeah, if you go to the application, like, we heard this application in Riel, it was October of 1st of 2025, and at that time, we created it as PR1 Public Reserve.
okay, so I do recall now. Thank you. I have no additional questions for the applicant, Councilor? No?
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Clerk?
All right. We had received one submission in support, but I did not have anyone else registered to speak in support, unless anyone in the gallery would like to speak in support of this application. Okay, so we would move on to those in opposition. I have one speaker registered. Oh. In support? Sorry, I missed you. Come on down then. Hi, what is your name?
It's Paul Vermette. and I'm
Okay, I had
with-
your submission.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
And I just wanted to speak a little bit to the change in the tenant group that we're supporting with our affordable housing units from Riel Compassion Network. So when we presented in the fall, our group of folks that we were intending to support was represented by an organization called Cohabit, who represents folks with severe physical disabilities, in particular cerebral palsy. Just with some preliminary design work that we did with them and with the property itself, and their need to have a large amount of common area at grade, we had to go a full 2 levels down below grade for parking, which, with that combined with the amount of common space that was needed in the building, we had to, for cost reasons, we needed to switch partners. It just wasn't going to be economically feasible. So we've gone back to the same plan that we've done at 156 Marion. We've been running that building for over 3 years, and it's supporting folks with intellectual and physical disabilities, supported by Saint Amant, as well as Sarah Riel. And that's, again, 20 units within that building of 48. It's been a great success. We've done an evaluation, hired a third-party evaluator to evaluate the experience of neighbors, tenants, both supported and from the market. It's been a fantastic experience. So I just wanted to explain a little bit about the history, how we're coming to this place today, and who we're supporting with the 20 deeply affordable units. So I appreciate the time of the committee. So any questions?
Councilor Chambers?
So in these 20 suites, do you also have staff that would be on site as residents there, or?
Yeah, there will be staff on site. The details are being worked out in terms of where they'll position themselves, but similar to what we're planning to do, something very similar to what we're doing at 156 Marion. So,
Good.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And so in that regard, will you need, I'm looking at the parking ratios and parking lots.
Right.
Will you need parking for staff?
It's because the 20 units, none of those folks will require any parking at all. It'll be one staff at a time, potentially. We're served by public transit as well, so we're assuming a number of staff will come through public transit. So we don't anticipate that'll have an impact really at all to speak of.
Okay. I don't have any questions. I think that's it. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
I apologize one more time. Is there anybody else that would like to speak in support of this application? Okay. So in opposition, I have Riel registered. Welcome.
Bonjour, my name is Riel. I reside at 851 Taché Avenue. I was opposing the parking variance because I believe that, first I'd like to thank the clarification on how the use of the building changed from the original presentation to what is going on today. I said that's the first time I hear the change of use because I was concerned about how many people would be employed in the building. Very concerning because in the architect's zoning analysis in regards to parking, they make no reference that there's an office in the building, which under the development bylaw would require some parking spaces for the employees or that are going to be working in the building. So those are my concerns on lack of parking for that building itself. And I sent the committee a whole bunch of questions here. And I'm hoping to get answers for them, and I'd like to go one by one to get answers, if that's okay with Mr. Chair.
Typically, the way it works is that we ask the questions.
Okay. Okay, so my concern is, first time I hear the fact that Rue d'Advaux is no longer a road. Rue d'Advaux is on the south side of the property. My concern is how does CN get to their bridge that requires a lot of maintenance? And since we're putting in the parking curb, the butt out, I guess, to the west side of Taché, you're kind of impeding on the access to that area. So it's very concerning because that being the main line, there should be no reason for interruption because it affects the federal government, right? It affects a bigger part than just the city of Winnipeg. So I'm concerned that is Rue d'Advaux technically no longer Rue d'Advaux? Like you said, is it zone PR? PR1? I'm not sure. My research says that PR1 is only on the west side of the property so far, but I never got public information that the PR1 is now going to be connected from Taché to the south of the building all the way to the riverbank. So I don't find that information publicly. So having said that, the policy of the city is normally to have egress and ingress from these large RMFL sites go on to a collector street, which in this case, d'Advaux, in my opinion, still has the public right-of-way for a street. And where I think, because in all developments in St. Boniface, we're always encouraging to use the collector streets to have egress and ingress, the Rue Saint-Joseph, the Rue Taché. The only ones that the city claims as errors would be the buildings on Aubert, at the Verve Taché, those type of buildings, and now they veered away from that, but now we're creating the same situation as the Verve Taché by not using the public right-of-way that I believe is still in play right now, that we're assuming is going to be a park, but I don't think people properly advise CN that they're losing the right to access that bridge from that point. Because currently they are working on the bridge today. They are using 825 Taché to get access to the bridge. There is a lot of space in the right-of-way to access it. And then my concern is if we leave the building the way it is, it kind of contradicts what the city's trying to do. We're encouraging, because the CN will apply for a curb cut to get access to the bridge, whether today, tomorrow, or when they have major work to be done. But it will get rid of the parking spaces you're creating because you're impeding on access to that area by allowing the offset parking from W Taché. So I find it a problem. We don't have a letter from CN saying, hey, we don't need the land. So we're going to be spending money putting a curb, putting a new lane for 3 parking spots, and then we're going to have an application from CN saying, hey, we've got to put a curb cut in. We'll get rid of 2 spots because they encroach into the public right-of-way. And I don't know if, so I find that concerning. And so if the city's policy is always to use these collector streets, why did we not support the fact that that should have been a collector street and discourage entrance on La Rue Taché? Because now I can foresee that if we do proceed this way, CN will come around, apply for a curb cut, they'll get it, and now we have two entrances for pedestrians now to cross vehicle traffic, which we're trying to eliminate.
So you have another 19 seconds on your presentation. I'm looking at your written submission here, which I guess reflects what you're saying right now as well. But it's your time to present to the committee.
Yeah, so those are my concerns. I said the city of Winnipeg do their homework in contacting CN to ensure that this is even possible.
Okay. Councilor Chambers?
Yeah,
You have questions?
yeah, so in terms of CN, is it possible for them to apply for an access agreement so that they can access if necessary?
So both the DAC that closed the road and as well as the DAS that is circulated to CN, we received their comments and we would work with them for their access.
I can't hear you.
Both the rezoning and the closing of Darval was circulated to CN. We've received their comments and we will work with them as a city to CN, our CP.
Okay. So the concerns that are being raised here are part of the conversation?
Yep.
Okay, great, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, no more questions?
No more questions.
No more questions for Mr. Riel? Madam Clerk?
I dispersed several letters, 5 letters in opposition against the application. I do not have any other speakers registered unless anybody in the gallery is looking to speak in opposition to the application. And I do not have anybody registered for information on the application unless anybody would like to speak. Okay, so before we ask the applicant to come and join us again, it would be appropriate time for additional questions for the public service.
Yeah,
Mr.
so,
Chambers?
question. Is there any resident or business that abuts the property on the locations where they're asking for the variance, on the side yards? Because that's being reduced from 18 feet
Yeah.
down to 7 and 8 respectively.
The only location where there's a property owner that abuts the property is on the north side. That I believe is owned by Qualco.
Okay.
So
So where they're asking for the variances on the
Yeah.
side yards,
Yeah.
there's no other, the properties that abut it, there's nobody living there, or it's not a business, or?
correct, it's a scenario where I would imagine Qualco has been doing developments in this neighborhood. Probably higher density development would likely be a future scenario for the lots north of this property. And so, there's different ownership. We own some land still north of there. There's another property owner that owns land. So it's an area that will see redevelopment. And so I would anticipate the similar type of buildings that Qualco has been doing across the street. I could foresee something similar being done here as well.
So in terms of, if this variance were approved at 7 and 8 yards or feet, in terms of the variance, in terms of future development, do you see any potential impacts?
No, I don't. I think it's going to be similar to what we've seen in other developments south of the High Line. So North St. Boniface, there was a new secondary plan that was created a few years back now. But the types of variances you're seeing are similar to what other developments in the neighborhood have seen as well. So it's pretty much in line with other developments.
Okay, and last question, he mentioned that the building height was 64 feet? Or 69 feet?
64 feet, I believe you said.
64 feet. Are there any other buildings of similar height and massing in the area?
I'd have to go back to the original planner's report, but there are tall buildings up and down Taché, done by the Verve is a good example that Qualcomm was just approved, or I think it was Street Side was just approved on the corner of Grandin, but or
Yeah,
the
I
street
think I know.
formerly Grandin, but I can't remember how tall it is. Steve, do you remember how tall that building was? We'd have to get, but those heights are what is being approved in the neighborhood. And it was meant as a high-density development street, this one in Rue Saint-Joseph. And it's very much in line with what the applicant brought forward in October of last year as what they were planning to do, which receives support from this committee and council, as well as residents of the neighborhood as well.
So, just last comment. They talked about 20 deeply affordable units. And again, the intent, they talked about individuals with cerebral palsy that will be living here, and other accessible, people with other accessible issues. So the 20 deeply affordable units, is there an aspect of CMHC funding that would be required for this as well?
Yeah, so we're working with Réseau Compassion Network and the other levels of government to, because they're going to need to be part of this process in terms of on the funding side. And so we're still working with RCN and the different levels of government to get the funding to see this project completed.
Yeah.
But one of the important critical pieces is getting the zoning and development rights. If we don't have that, then we can't progress to the next stage, and that's where we're at right now.
Good.
At this point, then, we would invite the applicant, Mr. Fenez, to speak in rebuttal to any comments you might have heard.
Okay, motions?
Do you want to take the chair, Council Chambers?
Yeah, I'll take the chair.
I move that the report of the Winnipeg Public Service be taken as read.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
I move that the received public representations be concluded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
I move that in accordance with subsection 247(3) of the City of Winnipeg Charter, the variance is consistent with Plan Winnipeg, and any applicable secondary plan does not create a substantial adverse effect on the amenities, use, safety, and convenience of the adjoining property adjacent area, including an area separated from the property by a street or waterway, is the minimum modification of the zoning bylaw required to relieve the injurious effect of the zoning bylaw on the applicant's property, and is compatible with the area in which the property to be affected is situated. In terms of supporting reasons, this is a good project with deeply affordable units and a large number of accessible units. I think we need this type of building across Winnipeg, and in this case, we have the North St. Monmouth secondary plan that calls for high-density residential building in a park here, which is what is being proposed in terms of the building portion of that. And so I think it fits, and I think we heard from a delegate in opposition today, and the objections raised were answered by the public service. And overall, I think this is a good application in terms of reduction parking. There's been a car share included in the including to offset the reduction in parking. So I think this project is well thought out, and comes with good partners with Réseau Compassion Network, and will be a good addition to the neighborhood and to Winnipeg.
And I'll just add in terms of supporting comments that, again, the variances that were applied for seem reasonable. They are nominal in terms of request. The only issue that I had was with parking, but recognizing the some of the physical limitations that some of the occupants may have, especially around driving, that they would not be vehicle owners, and as a result, it does open up space for staff members who might be attending at that location as well. So Again, the variances that were applied for are nominal, and the parking concerns that were raised have been satisfied.
Okay, so,
All the-
yeah, the question.
I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
I move that the recommendation of the Winnipeg Public Service be concurred in.
All those,
Oh, and the variance be approved.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
I move that the public hearing with respect to this application be concluded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Please note that the committee's decision with respect to this application may be appealed. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so is included in the order which is issued and mailed to all persons registered. Would you like to head right into?
We 5-minute bio break? Of course. We're back live to the Riel Community Committee at the, Madam Clerk?
Great, so we'll proceed into our next hearing. Item 2 is a subdivision and rezoning at lots 2 to 4, Block 4, Plan 73311, and lots 1 to 2, Block 3, Plan 73311. It's at Ibrahima Diallo Avenue and Paulette Duguay Street. This is filed DAS Sed 5/2026. In accordance with the City of Winnipeg Charter and the Development Procedures Bylaw, this is a combined hearing, and the following item will also be heard at the same time. It's item 3. It's a zoning agreement amendment at lots 1 to 3, Plan 74107, lots 3-4, and Block 2, Plan 73311. We have lots 1 to 2 and Block 3 for Plan 73311. Then lots 2 to 3, Block 1, Plan 73311, lots 1 to 2, Plan 74635, that's a mouthful there, and that's at Paulette Duguay Street under file ZAA 1/2026. We have received a presentation in support of this matter, which has been distributed to all members of the committee. The process the committee will follow is that the applicant will be heard first, followed by those in support, those in opposition, and those registered for information. The applicant may return to speak in rebuttal to comments made, but no new information would be permitted, and speakers will be permitted 5 minutes for their presentation. Again, I'm just making sure we have everybody in the Zoom, or if people are going to be joining us soon. So at this point, I would recommend we hear from the planner for an overview.
Thank you. These subject properties are located in the public markets, major redevelopment site D secondary plan area, bound by Ibrahima Diallo Avenue and Paulette Duguay Street. Regarding the subdivision and rezoning, the site is currently 5 lots, totaling about 26 acres in area, and each lot is vacant. The sites are located within the commercial and higher density residential policy areas of the secondary plan. The lots to the north are zoned C3 commercial corridor, and the lots to the south are MMU manufacturing mixed use. The DAS said seeks to do a few things. It's going to subdivide the 3 lots in the south there from MMU to RMFM, taking 3 and creating 9 lots. And the lots to the north, on the north side of Ibrahima Diallo, are going to be rezoned from C3 to CMU, Commercial Mixed Use District. No subdivision on those lots. The application also seeks to amend the existing zoning agreements. These amendments are related to density and setbacks for manufacturing districts. These changes to the zoning agreement are intended to bring the existing zoning agreement in line with the secondary plan, which was amended last year to increase the density entitlements and modify the setback requirements. So that is the DAS said. And then the ZAA is also amending the zoning agreement for the lots that are not included in the DAS said. And so that is doing the same thing. It's prescribing the density. It is breaking it down on a lot-by-lot basis to say the maximum density that can be developed as milestones are met under the secondary plan for emergency access to the site. And again, those same setback requirements, all to align with the secondary plan, as the secondary plan is currently less restrictive than the zoning rights that the property has right now.
Any questions?
For now.
Okay.
Okay, so then we would move over to the applicant. I had Susan Russell registered, but I understand that there was a family matter that has arisen, so we're inviting Jackie Wilkie.
Good afternoon, councillors and administration. We're here to speak on part of the subdivision and rezoning, as well as the zoning agreement amendment. We'd like to thank the public service on all their work that they've done getting this completed with our two very confusing names, the DASZ and the ZAA, on the two different portions of the work. The intent is, as noted, is to subdivide and rezone the lands to the west, or sorry, to the east of the park in the center of the development. We're going to begin by doing a brief overview of the secondary plan amendments that were done in 2025 and approved by council January 29, 2026. This is where we changed the land use designation from M3, or from manufacturing, or employment, sorry, my apologies, to high-density residential in this area. So we're now seeking to bring the zoning and land use and the ZAA into alignment with the secondary plan. So in the site, these are the lands that we're talking about for the DASZ. The two north ones are going from C3 to CMU to allow some residential units within that area. And the center is going from MMU to RMFM, immediately adjacent to the Central Park area. The subdivision is looking at 9 lots in the center. The size of the 2 lots to the north are going to stay exactly the same as they are right now. These lots will be accessed off of both Ibrahima Diallo and also off of Paulette de Gay. Sorry, we get to change that one. It's been fixed. So part of the changes to the zoning agreement amendment are assigning the number of units to each one of the lots as we go through this as a intent for the development. This is what is in the new zoning agreement amendment, so that we can go from, to assign the 2,800 dwelling units throughout the development, both in the new lots as well as in the lots that are on the west side of the park and adjacent to the railway line. We are looking, as the recommendation for approval from Urban Planning Division, that we are consistent with complete communities and with our secondary plan for the MRSD. We do have one item that we would like to have some clarification on in the Appendix B under pedestrian crossing control. In the existing clause, it's asking for the all related works for control devices at Paulette de Gay and Ibrahima Diallo, and we would like to have it noted that it should be at the west intersection of Paulette de Gay and Ibrahima Diallo, as there are 2 intersections with those 2 streets, just to be clear. And we would also like to have it that we are able to delete the requirement for the crossing of Ibrahima Diallo at where the public reserve in the center or at Plainville comes up, in that would be mid-block on that one, that we don't believe would be part of the requirements for this, but if it was ever, if there were ever development north and Plainville was developed, then that would make sense to have that be part of that development requirement. You can see this here on the plan that we have showing the active transportation pathways through the development that come down Marion and then down Paulette de Gay into the area. We have a crossing at the a future crossing at the commercial site if traffic warrants. Then at the stop controlled intersection on the west side of Ibrahima Diallo and Paulette de Gay. And then the pathways are all in the central portion of the island in the middle, going to the park on both sides, and then coming to the other intersection of Ibrahima Diallo and Paulette de Gay with another stop-controlled intersection for traffic on that side. So where you see the crosses are where we would like to see those
Need more time?
connections. Could I get 2 more minutes just to make sure that I've covered everything off?
Move extension of 2 minutes.
All in favor? Aye. Contrary? Carried.
Please proceed.
So the site is under construction right now. Mr. Scaletta will come in and just say where we are, just so that everybody understands where we are under construction right now, but this gives you an idea. I'd like to just point out for the ZAA, I'm just going to bring up that particular presentation as well, just so you can see on the plans where those lots are in relation to the development. So the ones for the ZAA are the lots that were subdivided last year on the west side of the public reserve, and it involves the sharing of the units throughout this area with the lots that you see here. So the ones that we're talking about are on the east side of the park and for the DASZ, and this is for the ZAA. And that's where we are.
So you were asking for clarity on the active transportation, but I think you were asking for changes.
We're asking for a clarification on the location of that it would be on the west intersection in the one clause, and to delete the crossing requirement at the future Plainville intersection, in that Plainville is not being developed.
Public service follow? Yeah, following? In case there's changes in language required later?
The public service is supportive of adding the words at the intersection, the west intersection. However, we are not supportive of deleting the second clause as it's within the planned area and likely needed.
Yeah.
What was the reason?
It's within the planned area and likely needed.
Okay. Were there any other places where there was something different than what the public service was recommending?
No, we're in agreement with everything else.
Okay. Okay. No questions?
All right.
Councilor, yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
I'm just gonna
All right, then we'll call up Mr. Scaletta.
Thank you, gentlemen and staff. I'll make this very short because it's a nice day outside finally. Just to give you guys an update where we are with the roads, internal roads are all done. We're just working on Marion right now, and we're finding some interesting things underneath Marion that the Public Works, the Water Waste are helping us out on fixing some of the stuff that we've uncovered on the Marion Street. So it's actually been hopefully better for Marion down the road as well. But that'll be done by, we're anticipating mid-August. The Marion work intersection will be there. The sidewalks on Marion will be done then as well. And then we'll start next year on the internal walkways. We're waiting for Hydro to put their services in, the gas and power lines. This way and the power, so we don't put sidewalks in, they rip them up, and then we do it again. So we're just waiting for them to get done, so next year. And there's gonna be a few contractors starting construction by the end of this year. So I think anticipated by middle of next year, you'll see over 500 or 600 units being built in the development. So that'll be, finally, you see some vertical construction going up there, so it'll be very nice, so. And also I want to say thanks to the staff. We worked on this wording, it was back and forth, so administration did a really good job on helping us out get the proper wording for what we wanted to do here, so. That's all I have to say.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Rob, you heard the public service on, they're supportive of the change you're requesting, but they want to keep the second piece because it's likely going to be needed.
Yeah, no, that's fine, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Thanks. Okay,
Thank you. So I do not have any further representations in support. Anyone in the gallery is interested in speaking in support? You, Mr. Finez? I don't have anyone registered in opposition or for information, unless anybody would like to speak now for opposition or for information. Okay, I would encourage questions to the public service.
Okay, so is there a change, based on the presentation, is there a change required to the text in terms of the active transportation?
Yeah, so in Appendix B, Section I, Clause 3A, add the words at the west intersection of, after the words all related works on.
Madam Clerk, did you capture that?
I did. It was a very useful presentation in showing the way that it's currently phrased and what they are seeking.
Okay.
Sorry, that was 3A?
3A.
Okay, and what was the clause?
We're just specifying that it's the west intersection since there is two intersections. Our intent was always the west.
And that wasn't clearly articulated.
It just wasn't clearly articulated in the clause.
Right.
Okay, Madam Clerk, if you're ready with that language.
I am.
Is there time for motions? Or?
If you would like to speak in rebuttal to anything you've heard? There has been a few comments. No? Okay, then yes, it would be time to proceed with motions.
Right.
That's it.
I move that the report of the Winnipeg Public Service be taken as read.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary carried.
I move that the receipt of public representations be concluded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Contrary carried.
I move that the recommendation of the Winnipeg Public Service be concurred in and forward to the Standing Policy Committee on Property Planning, or Property and Development.
There were some changes though, right?
There is that amendment. This applies to the DAS, Ed, correct? Okay, so just in Appendix B of the ACG report in Section 3 for pedestrian crossing control, we're adding at the west intersection of prior to citing Paulette Duguay Street.
Duly noted, as stated.
Okay, are we in order, Madam Clerk?
We are, yeah.
Okay, so the motion
Is to forward to the Standing Policy Committee on Property Planning and Development.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary carried.
My supporting reasons are, there is clarification on the location of where the traffic calming will occur. This is a good project, as was mentioned, and should be going forward.
Okay,
A lot of great work that's been done today.
okay, so the motion's there, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary carried.
I move that the public hearing with respect to this application be concluded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary carried.
Please note that the committee has made a recommendation on this matter. That will now proceed to council, and no further representations are permitted on the subdivision rezoning. All persons registered for the public hearing will receive notice when the matter is to be considered by council. Item number 3.
This is the zoning agreement amendment.
Is that AA?
Correct.
How come we couldn't do them combined?
It is a combined hearing.
So do we get right into motions, Madam Clerk, or?
Right, we've
Straight into motions?
presented on the
Yeah.
combined hearing item.
Okay, hold on a sec. Okay, I move that the report of the Winnipeg Public Service be taken as read.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary carried.
I move that the receipt of public representations be concluded.
All in favor? Aye. Contrary carried.
I move that the recommendation of the Winnipeg Public Service be concurred in and forward to the Standing Policy Committee on Property and Development via the priority rezoning process.
This would just be the standing policy committee because it's a
Oh.
combined hearing,
Standing Policy Committee on,
property and development.
yeah, that's what I said.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary carried.
Supporting reasons are as previous.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Contrary carried.
I move that the public hearing with respect to this application be concluded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary carried.
And the committee has made a recommendation on this matter as well. It will now proceed to council, and no further representations are permitted on the zoning agreement amendment. All persons registered for the public hearing will receive notice when the matter is to be considered by council.
Can there were reports? Still have to do the plan approval for Taché.
That's correct. Item number 1 is the plan approval at 825 Taché Avenue.
Did the public service want to say something relative to this? Plan approval?
This is a a project that largely is consistent with what was brought forward to Community Committee back in October of last year, with some notable changes with regards to, given that the tenant population was changing, there were some, I would say, minor changes to the building that were done at the main floor level. But otherwise, it is a high-quality building in an area that is seeing a lot of growth, and it's going to be a good addition to the street.
Okay. Any questions, Councillor Chambers? It is related to the variance we heard previously. I don't see any motions. I guess it's just a question of just going with the urban planning division, or?
Oh, I'm sorry about that. If you'd like to carve for a recommendation of the public service.
Sure. Councillor Chambers, you want to take the chair?
Will do.
Okay, so I would like to concur in the Winnipeg Public Service recommendation.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Okay, I'll take the chair back, Madam Chair.
That'll
In
do
order
it.
for adjournment?
Would be appropriate.
Okay, do you want to move adjournment, Councillor Chambers?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Contrary, carried.
Sorry about that. I didn't.